Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now this, if you haven't seen it before, is my custom Marui MWS M733. This is built on a Nova body. We did a whole build video on this. If I remember, I'll link it either in the description or on the little info cards up here. But I've covered this whole build in a video. And apart from taking it to a few odd games and just making sure it was set up correctly, this, that and the other, I think you might have known before it had a little red dot sight on there. But as I was talking to James, which many of you know as Kicking Mustang, he was going over to, is it Belgium or somewhere in Europe? There was an airsoft game. I think it was Belgium somewhere, and he wanted something interesting to make the video interesting as he records his gameplay. And he was sat in my living room. We were just throwing things around. And I hadn't really used this in a game before, but I walked upstairs, I grabbed this, and I put this in James's lap, and I was like, look, here's the M733, here's a bunch of mags, because he fell in love with this the first time I showed it him. Take that for your weekend game, and just run it, and make content, whatever, bring it back when you're finished. And he did. So he did run into a bit of an issue. I think what he'd actually done, I gave him a bunch of MWS mags, I gave him some of these loaders, and I did mention to him, once you filled them up, just remove the top round out the top of the magazine. He said fine. When he got to his game, I don't know whether he had mags that still had one extra round in, or whether he just had a bad jam. But I was actually come home from work. I think I was actually sat on the toilet, and I got this video call, and it was James. Meanwhile, in his game, sending me a video call going, I've had an issue. This thing's just not working. I told him to take the bolt out. As he took the bolt out, we looked at the nozzle and determined that the nozzle was kaput. So it was either a very bad jam or it was too many BBs in the magazine, and then slapped up. So it's not his fault for breaking it. Before many people get in the comments going, oh, he's broke your expensive custom MWS. It's not his fault at all. This can happen to anybody. He was very apologetic and wanted to pay me to fix the gun. So it's not a problem at all. I do have a spare nozzle here somewhere. I think I've got a box of MWS bits, which I'll fetch out in just a moment. So, but I've got a spare Marui nozzle. We can shove one in if need be. So I'm going to take a look at this, and you'll see here let's focus this up here. The loading arm's quite badly beat up. The nozzle has actually got some damage as well. And what's common to see, if you ever think you've got an overfilled magazine and you've rammed it up and you want to know if that is the damage, if you look at the bottom here, you can see the indentations. You might not see that clearly on the video, but there's loads of dents in this where it's been slapped up, and I think that was maybe one factor. And then it's got a jam, and with these nozzles, when they have a really bad jam, they just tend to destroy themselves. So I'm going to fix that and get it put back in. So I've got a ton of spare bits here. I know I have a spare bolt, which is there, and there we have. This is a fairly brand new MWS Marui nozzle, and the reason why this isn't in a gun is because when I did that custom bolt from Guns Modify, if you watch that video, you'll remember that I couldn't actually fit the Marui nozzle in there. I had to use a Guns Modify one, so this one came out and it was spare. So I can use this to fix this. So I'm not going to close the upper and lower together as I usually do and release the buffer spring. So this is going to be a fairly simple fix. Let's get cracking on with it, and we're going to remove the top piece off the bolt carrier here. So we've got two screws, 1 and 2. So if you've had a similar issue with your MWS, this is how you're going to fix it. So once we've removed that off the top, watch that spring, it will pop out. Remove the little plastic piece off the back here, and then we can pull the nozzle out. Just clean this off here. We're going to take the rubber buffer off the back because we need that. We're going to remove the screw from the top, pull that out, and it enables the whole spring assembly to drop out there. And then we've got the valve and the valve spring. We're going to pop the plate off the front here like that, and then we've got a little spring that sits in the front there. So I can actually keep that as a spare, but the nozzle is kaput. So chuck that out to one side. We'll pull this nozzle apart like so. I'm going to take the spring, push it in the front here. And if you do need a nozzle replacement, obviously getting Marui ones is like trying to invent a time machine. It literally, I think inventing a time machine will probably be easier than sourcing Marui parts sometimes. We'll just put the valve back in there. But if you're in need of one and you don't have one, the best nozzle replacement I can recommend for the MWS is the Guns Modify nozzle. That is the best one in my opinion. If you're shopping parts online and there's a shop that you're looking at and they've got them in stock, they're very inexpensive. I would just always order a couple just to keep them in your gear, and should you ever need one, then you'll have one, won't you? So I think that O-ring's probably sat in the back there. Yes, it is. Pop the cup back on there like so, and we'll flip this over and we'll push this all the way in. It wants to sit in there properly. Let's see if we can remove that O-ring. Come on. The O-ring is well and truly in there, so I'm going to leave it. Push the nozzle back in. We just want to line that silver pin up at the back so it goes through the hole like so. Once it comes through like that, you're just going to need something fairly thin. You can use an Allen key or whatever. Put it through the hole of that piece, and then you can pull it all the way back like so, and then put the little clamp in place to hold it. Better to see it a little bit more clearly here, so I'm going to put that through the hole, pull it, little clamp goes on, and it sits in there like that. I think I've done bolt videos before on the MWS series, but you know, just while I've got it on the bench, I thought I'd make a video out of it, and we'll get this thing fixed up, because you know, it's one of my most prized MWSs. I think it's just very retro. I have a lot of modern MWSs, but this one, there's just something a bit more special about it. It's very low tech in comparison. So we're going to put these two screws back in. No need to over tighten them. Then we've got this little spring which will push in there. And I'll just use a file to push that back into place. In fact, I'll use a flathead so I can get it in the grooves of the spring, in the coils rather. There we go, and that should be nice and spring loaded, and there's the bolt nice and fixed. So we'll get the M733, put the bolt back in, and we'll give it a quick test fire. Pins in, got an MWS mag here. If you're running MWS mags and you haven't got one of my loaders yet, what are you playing at? Go grab yourself one. Very inexpensive. I'll demonstrate to you now how much of a time saver it is. So you just put the little speed loader adapter on top there, fill the mag up. I'm only going to do a couple of plunges just to make sure it feeds. Let's put the mag in, load a round in, and as long as BBs come out at the end, we're fixed. we go. We fed every round and we locked open on empty. The way I have this set up, I have a Ferro Concept sling. It's just very minimalistic. These are probably one of the best slings I've ever found. Very good indeed. They've got this quick system where you can pull it tight to your body and then loosen it off if you want to sort of shoulder the rifle. So I will have a bit of cleaning up to do on this. There's always been a bit of playing at upper and lower receiver, but you can see where he's been crawling through all the brush. There's a fair bit of dirt deposits. You'll see it all in the trays and everything here. So I've just got some cleaning to do on that, which I half expected it anyway. He's a ghillie sniper, and it's nice to see this has been used. And you know, a lot of people say, well, why did you loan it out if it's one of your most prized MWSs? And honestly, this thing needs to be used. And I think that if I hadn't have given him this to use at a weekend, this would have sat on the wall, all pristine, and the chances of me actually going out and using it properly myself, without, you know, trying to keep it from hitting the floor and keeping dirt off it, if it would have just sat on the wall as a wall hanger. So he managed to have a great game day with it. He loved using it. Hopefully he got some good footage. Came back. It's got a bit of mullet here or there, which I'll clean up. That's not a problem. But now I don't feel so bad about taking this out and using it. I mean, that logic, does that come through? Do you guys understand that? It's now no longer this, you know, heralded pristine thing because it needs to be used. You know, airsoft guns never really retain their value. So hope you've enjoyed this little video and this little fix. This is now back up and running. It can go back into circulation with my other MWSs. And how cool is this thing? If you like this M733, like the video, put a comment down below. What do you think? And from me and Bench, as always, I'll see you in the next video.